Adults in English, the second set of commandments. Very good. So continuing from last week, we're going to speak about the rest of the Ten Commandments. We're going to start with the fifth commandment of you shall not kill. This forbids directly taking any innocent life. It forbids taking our own life. It forbids taking the life of others, and especially of the unborn, of course, abortion being such a great evil. So murder, suicide, abortion, acting sinfully out of anger, revenge, or hatred is also forbidden. And the reason for this is that we're not just talking about murder. Obviously, killing is the commandment. It's not just about murder. It's about the dignity of the human person and respecting human life and all aspects of that life. So certainly we don't kill, but we also don't do harm, either physically or emotionally or spiritually. So the way we speak and act out of anger, for example, can be contrary to this. We can harm people spiritually by giving scandal. That means leading them into sin by our example. Other things that we can do to harm ourselves and others includes drugs, for example. Now, obviously, there are certain circumstances in which violence is legitimate defense particularly. Now, whether that be the legitimate defense of the person or the family, for example, the home, in self-defense, whether that be the defense of society through the death penalty, although that is supposed to be extremely restricted because it is not it should be a last resort. It should not be simply out of revenge. And of course, the same thing goes with military force, that war must be just. War does not enter it into lightly and must meet certain criteria. And then going to the end of life, just as we do not take the innocent life in abortion, neither do we allow euthanasia, which is physician-assisted suicide, which is a cooperation then with the doctor and the person to end their life. God is the Lord of life, and He is the one who determines how often we live or how much we live, and we do not have the right to change that. The sixth commandment is you shall not commit adultery. This one is very important. It may not be the gravest of sins, but it is one of the most common. Our Lady in Fatima says that more souls go to hell for this sin than any other. Again, it's common, and it's also very easy. The idea here is that we must respect marriage and sexuality in all its aspects. So in any of our thoughts, words, actions, or omissions, in the ways that we can sin in any of the ways, we have to preserve chastity, that is the proper use of the sexual faculty, which is only in marriage. And so anything that is contrary to God's design for marriage and sexuality falls under this sin. So you have adultery, you have masturbation, fornication, pornography, prostitution, rape, homosexual acts, divorce under a lot of circumstances, polygamy, incest, etc. Anything that goes against purity deliberately, and that's again in our thoughts, in our words, in what we deliberately listen to, what we watch, etc. Again, what it boils down to is that God's design is one man and one woman, that is, two human beings of different sexes who are united for life and exclusively, no one else, and open to children. And so anything that is contrary to those parts of God's plan are sinful. The seventh commandment is you shall not steal. Again, this one involves respect for property, our own personal property, which means, of course, anything that goes contrary to the right of someone to have their property is a sin against this commandment. So we respect their property, we don't damage it. When we do damage, we need to make restitution. This includes cheating, and if we, again, steal or damage anyone's property, we have to make restitution. And it also applies to employment. So on the part of the employee, we are obliged to do a full day's work for a full day's pay, and the employer is obliged to pay a full day's pay for a full day of work. The eighth commandment is, you shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. And this commandment is about respecting the truth. So on the basic level, of course, this commandment will forbid perjury, but it also forbids lies or speaking even badly about people. And just like with the respect for property, we have an obligation to make reparation for any damage that we do with this commandment. The ninth and 10 commandments, you shall not covet your neighbor's wife, and you shall not covet your neighbor's goods. These are both the sins of the sixth and seventh commandments in the heart. So, in other words, as our Lord says, you shall not. Whoever looks at a woman with a lust has already committed adultery in his heart. And so coveting in this case means wishing to get something in a way that's sinful, in an unjust way. And so that applies to relationships between people and also to people's property.